So guys, welcome to our HorrorCon YouTube channel. How are you all?
Doing good.
Doing all right.
You're having
Good.
a wonderful time.
Thank you.
How's HorrorCon been for you so far this weekend?
It's been
fun.
It's
Pretty
been
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
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 Extraordinary experience. When you're a fan of horror and you get to participate in an actual horror film.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a Stephen King junkie, and then just walking around here and looking at the merchandise and the wonderful vendors. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's quite an industry.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? It's massive.
And you don't realize how big of an industry it is until you get into one of these conventions.
And how much the fans are so in depth. They're in depth with everything.
Yes.
The genre.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just one film.
Mhm.
They will have multiple films that they love.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? Any of you scared of clowns before you actually took on these roles? None of you were scared of clowns?
Never
No.
liked them, but I wouldn't say I
Yeah.
was scared of them at any point.
I never had one at a party.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I did go to the
No.
circus, and there is a creepy element to them. Obviously, it's the duality of the sort of the seduction of the children and the knife behind the back.
Yeah.
This is our Pagliacci moment.
Yeah. So obviously, when you got your roles, did you read the book, or did any of you read the book? Obviously, you were young at the time. But did you read the book and understand what was going on and what you were
I
let yourself
read
in?
what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read a little bit of the book. You know, it was a big book, so I mean, kind of started.
It is like Mel
it's a hell of a
It
book.
reads like Mel
It's like 1,200 pages.
Moby Dick.
So it's like,
But you guys are literally part one, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah. Then with a couple of flashbacks in the second half. Of the book.
Mhm.
Call me Schmidt.
So yeah. So
Yeah, the book is it's a masterwork. Adam can't stand Stephen King, as he discussed
It's not that I
yesterday.
can't stand him.
It almost got us killed in the process.
really.
Oh yeah. It went over like Barton Church.
That's
Yeah.
all right. I met some very nice people who understood the fact that I liked
Yeah,
Stephen
no.
King's short stories and introduced me to
course,
some
I'm
more that I
joking.
can read. I'm not reading Cujo again, though.
No, that's a great book.
Cujo.
Dude, he makes dogs so awesome. I want one.
A killer Saint Bernard.
Go for it.
Yeah.
You're on your own there.
So have each of you got a favourite Stephen King story?
Mhm.
Let's hear some.
After you.
After you.
I'm not an avid Stephen King reader. I had read the
Well,
one for
Since
Yeah.
I
prep
have
for a role.
the least amount of experience, I'll go first.
Well, go for it.
My favorite thing that he's written is a short story called Stationary Bike. It was included as part of a series, I think it was like White Wolf Fiction, I forget what it's called, a Borderlands series. It's like a collection of short stories. And it was like the 4th edition, and it was like this one add-on. It's like all the other times it was authors that you'd never really heard of, or that were working in horror or like speculative fiction. And then this one was like featuring a story by Stephen King. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. And it was one of the best stories in there. I mean, they're all great stories that he collects, but yeah, it's
That's awesome.
very interesting. Very interesting. It's a guy in his basement riding a stationary bike facing a wall,
Yeah.
and then just the trip he goes on in his mind, and it's very well
Wow.
written.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love The Shining.
Yeah.
First book I read by Stephen King, and honestly, I was very young at the time, and one of the most impactful stories I've ever read, and truly terrifying. I'd be wrapped up in my blanket, wondering if I had the same sort of psychic powers as the young character.
But that was the first horror film I watched, was The Shining.
Yes.
Jack Nicholson, fantastic performance.
Did you like? Sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to take up your time.
No.
Did you like Kubrick's interpretation of The Shining?
No, well, I haven't read the book, so I can't exactly go like, you know, Stephen King's work was better than that. You know,
Because Stephen King didn't like it at all. He was.
no, he didn't.
Yeah.
But he's what I've read about Stephen King is he doesn't really like most of the film work that's been done of his work.
Right.
So he's kind of a hard nut to please, I
Right.
think, to be
Pet
quite
Cemetery, though, different story. I
Yeah.
think altogether.
I thought that was great.
I know.
Did you like
I
that?
heard he was there to sort of kick things off
Mm.
on set.
Did any of you meet Stephen King?
They don't allow him on
No.
set.
Yeah, they wouldn't allow him.
I think most productions don't allow him on set anymore because he likes to be a little.
He's really critical of his
Yeah,
work.
of his
He's
work,
protective.
so-
It's obviously his
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's his work.
He's
Yeah.
protective over that, so I can understand.
But I don't
that.
think we had an occasion to meet.
No,
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 he
not
hates
at
it.
all,
Yeah.
no.
No.
Would you have liked to? Do you
Oh,
think
yeah,
that would have been
of
an
course.
extra step to it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
would've been
would
amazing.
love to.
He's a wonderful. He wrote a book called On Writing, actually, and it's one of the most informative books you can read
Yeah.
on his process. I mean, he's the most successful and prolific writer of the last 100 years.
Yeah.
He's astounding.
Yeah,
I'd love to
he
have
is.
met him.
That
Yeah.
would have been brilliant.
Yeah.
So each of your characters, obviously you were young when you had these roles, but what did you like exploring about each of your characters?
So what you're saying is we're old now.
I don't know. I think we've jumped forward a few years.
Just
I mean, it's technically correct. I just wondered if you're going somewhere with that.
All I'm going to say is,
Not that we're
have you guys
sensitive.
been cast in the new film?
We are at the Viagra stage of life.
Oh, wow.
speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what kind of aspects did you like exploring of your characters?
You know,
I think. Go ahead.
I was gonna say. I mean, for myself, I really associated with the character itself, man. I mean, I've kind of been like that one extra guy a lot. So I mean, it wasn't, you know.
Like last night at the pub.
I'm being exactly. I'm being PC right now.
He was the fifth wheel on the wagon.
Oh, okay.
Every now and then.
It's like
So
the
I mean, for me, it was just more. I don't know if I did a whole lot of character, like always just being myself and just having fun with these guys and just kind of like, okay, I need to be scared here, and I'm a historian. I'm just a kid in the class, you know, kind of telling you guys a story about the stuff that's been passed down to me, and I think maybe, I don't know about for everybody else, but it was just like us just kind of being ourselves.
I think the way Stephen King writes the characters, he writes characters with such an incredible depth that not many people do.
No.
So, I mean, passively, I think it was maybe easy for us. It was easy for me to get it. I mean, obviously having read the book too, but the way he wrote everything and the teleplay that came as a result as well, it was intuitive, right? He wrote real characters.
Yeah.
So and nothing was contrived, right? So it was easy for us to say the things we were to say and relate the way we were supposed to relate because the groundwork had already been
pretty much
laid
said.
well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then, if you have a favourite scene,
We shot at a place called, two actually, Riverview, which was the notorious mental asylum in Vancouver. And as I said at the Q&A last night, they conducted some very questionable experiments on the patients, equivalent to what the Nazis did in concentration camps. So we shot the tunnel scene there.
Yeah.
And that tunnel was constructed so that they could transport the bodies out of the hospital without upsetting the patients. So in there you had this feeling. And then another place was
Israel. And that's pretty much where we started, if I
Yeah,
recall.
that's right.
Really?
Like, one of the first things that I shot, I'm not trying to take over here,
Oh,
brother.
of course.
I remember the first time I was on camera was when we've climbed down the ladder and I pick up a pom-pom.
Yeah.
And that's where we were. We were in there doing that. And so instantly we're thrown into this sense of foreboding.
Yeah.
Annis's Island as well was one of my favorite places. It's this burnt out factory of sorts. And it looks like something out of a Blade Runner. And for the filmmakers, you felt really great because all you had to do was a couple of lights and you had the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And that's where I get Ben and I'm plucking the buttons off of his shirt. But a really, evocative environment. Yeah.
Wow. Bit about Tim now. We're going to touch on Tim. What was your first reaction seeing him as Pennywise? Was you kind
Tim,
of...
who's Tim?
Oh,
I'm kidding.
It's me sitting there like that.
Sorry.
You're out late last
It's early.
That
Sorry.
I think I was just a little bit kind of starstruck, really, but trying to hide it because, I mean, obviously in his full makeup, he looked completely different from all the other roles and his normal self, but I knew who he was, and I had a sense of the caliber of his work, and so I just tried to keep my distance and not try to, come off awkward.
Tread upon his big red shoes.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he was just so gracious and wonderful to work with that I didn't know what to expect, but just had a great appreciation for that.
Was he a method actor? Was he kind of in character? He was just like his scene done, left it.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
Like I've said it before. Working with him, really, as Marlon said in our panel yesterday, that was one of the rare times that we actually did get to work with him. Was when we were filming the climax.
Yeah.
The first part where we're in the sewer together,
Yeah.
and he's totally Tim Curry. He's just Tim when we're doing the rehearsals. He's like, oh, you want me to stand here and then do this, and then you want me to do the thing while we're rehearsing. And then he said, okay, Tommy would say, let's do one.
Yeah.
And he'd flip the switch.
Just go, yeah.
And it was, like I said before, a million times, it's a masterclass. It was
Yeah,
great for us
absolutely.
young actors.
So you took a lot away from his performance.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
The first
I
time
mean-
I saw him was my first day on the set, and of course it's a fairly intimidating process. I mean, it's huge. Obviously, it was a big production at the time.
Yeah.
And as I talked about at the Q&A yesterday, he was in full makeup. He was sitting in the director's chair. He was reading the newspaper, and he was smoking a cigarette in a very regal fashion, regal rather. And I'm walking by, and I'm going, "Oh God, okay, I do have a fear of clowns." And I'm just trying to skulk by so that he doesn't notice me. And he brings down the paper, and he goes, and this is how wonderful he is. He remembers everyone's name, and he goes, "Hello, Judd." And I just kind of went,
Bang.
astounding.
Was there anything creepy about him? Anything at all? You didn't find anything.
Just seeing a man sitting around in clown makeup.
You just think,
Yeah.
damn.
Like you're not hopping out of a little red car. You don't have like a horn. Like it's something weird about that.
I remember being in the
Smoking a cigarette.
I remember being in the makeup trailer, and he had given, it's not creepy, but it was just sort of off.
Yeah.
Because we're getting the makeup done first thing in the morning, and I think it was either the hair or makeup person. She was playing a Tim Curry CD of show tunes, right?
Yeah.
So the juxtaposition between,
Yeah,
you know,
Of him
there's
Manning
full
clown.
makeup.
Now
yeah,
singing
we've got
now
this
singing
scary
song.
clown with teeth, and here he is, you know, singing Broadway show tunes. That's
We
like,
didn't break into song though during.
No.
Hello, darling.
but which is it, right? Yeah.
So have any of you seen the new film?
Yeah.
Oh,
You've
yeah.
all seen it.
Absolutely.
What stands out from yours compared to the new one?
Oh God! You know what I'd say? We were talking. We get confronted with this set all the time
Yeah,
at the
I was
horror
about to
con,
say,
obviously. And I've got to tell you, I mean, they had freer range in which to explore some of the darker elements of the book.
Yeah.
Working within the media of television,
Television in the 90s.
In the
exactly. We had to
In the 80s.
In the,
It
we had to
came out
confine
in the
ourselves.
90s.
But the great thing about that is working within those confines, we had to find a way to convey that same spirit of the book. And these guys, the Losers Club, so
Yeah.
to speak, did an extraordinary job. I actually think, and I'm not being very diplomatic in saying this,
Okay.
I think they're far superior in terms of their connectivity.
Yeah.
It's not to say the film isn't great, and we're happy for its success. I mean, it's gone on to be the most successful horror film of all time
Yeah.
now. But it's a different animal from
Yeah.
our film, I think. If you
Yeah.
guys agree.
I think it's a different interpretation. And
Yeah.
I tell most people if they go see this one, don't think about the first one.
Yeah.
Right, good point.
That was my
Very good point.
when I first went and saw it. Like that was my biggest thing is I was in a comparative mode.
Right.
Yeah.
And so being in a comparative mode, I didn't get to give the movie the full capability and appreciation and the full attention
Sure.
because
Well
I
said.
was looking to see what was going to be similar, what's
Right.
going to be different, what's going to change, what's going to happen, how are you going to do this scene? Oh, you didn't do this scene this time, you did this one. And so I think if you go into this one thinking that, it takes away from it
Yeah.
because it's a different story. They got to explore different parts of the book that we didn't get to explore in ours. I think the only thing that's really step for step is really just the first 5 minutes of the film, you know, which is the scene when Bill's in the bed and he's sick and he makes the boat for Georgie and Georgie goes out and running. I mean, you can almost count that like to a T, like as soon as he was
They
running
did it
down
on
the street.
YouTube. They did it on YouTube.
really?
They
Oh, I see
did
that.
a shot for
Yeah.
shot sort of thing. It wasn't really shot for shot,
But almost.
I felt like it was
You're
kind of
right.
a tip of the hat.
Yeah.
It was. I thought it was really
I
good.
think
then
it was, and
after that,
it eased. You know, it broke us in gently.
Did you go opening night to watch the new one, or did
I
you
did.
kind
I
of
did.
just wait and give it a bit of time?
Yeah,
I
I
did.
did.
I did
Yeah.
open the
Opening
night.
night.
Opening night, yeah. So he was excited.
Marlon went opening night wearing a Pennywise shirt,
Did you?
holding a red balloon.
That's it.
That's awesome.
There you are.
I tried to
cool.
cosplay as myself.
Did you?
There it is.
Went to Goodwill or I guess it would be Oxfam here in the UK and
Yeah.
got a used like cardigan. It didn't look anything like my little sweater vest that I was wearing. It wasn't brown. It was like blue and dark blue kind of thing. But slicked my hair over and everything. I almost looked like myself.
Almost.
Yeah.
No approach of cameos at all in the new film at all, or anything.
We're still
like
waiting.
You're still waiting.
Just let me know if you need my number.
Yeah, I was about to say there is a new one.
You got
It's
my
being filmed this
email.
summer, so you know, maybe.
I think it'd be wonderful for them to, you know, and I'm speaking. I guess it's sort of selfish on our parts, but I think if you could connect the original with the new film, I think that would add, you know, even in a small capacity, a magical element to the, you know, it would join them. It'd be a bridge between the two films,
Mm-hmm.
The two universes.
Yeah, would be nice.
You know,
cool.
one thing I was going to say about the new film is the language was, honestly, I was like astounded by these kids and how they talked. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but the use of the word motherfucker was absolutely, Jesus.
It was a lot. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're sitting there thinking,
Yeah, it's like, you know.
you carry on.
I don't know, because I think when I was that age, and this is
I didn't
what
talk that way.
This is what I appreciated
Backhand.
about the new film was the language, the interaction in that sense. I mean, especially that time, the place where it's set
Yeah.
is our time.
Right.
So I instantly related to these characters, and
Yeah.
there's the Wang jokes, and there's the your mom, and all that. It was totally familiar because that's
Yeah.
the way we talk.
That's what you like, yeah.
Maybe not Jared.
No, I would have got smacked.
Well, and when you
We
first,
My
weren't
dad
gonna
wouldn't
smack
be
each
there.
other.
No, that's
I'd be
it.
down the block and I think, oh, my dad's going to hear me say motherfucker.
those
But
cuss words,
kids will be
you say them all the time.
What's a
right?
wang?
Just not in front of your parents.
Oh, well,
Use your
yeah.
imagination. Use your imagination.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
one
shit.
half of 80.
So, proper, this is
no.
straight down the middle. Tim or Bills?
Tim,
Tim.
100%.
See,
You're don't be a politician,
Well,
man.
It's not politics.
No,
You're
no,
sitting on the fence
so,
with this one.
so to
No,
me,
it's not politics.
What do you guys think?
I like Bills.
Really?
I like Bills.
Okay.
I don't know why I like it, but
So
it's,
to
the
me-
same, it's the same with Heath Ledger and
Joker.
Jack Nicholson.
and Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
I really like Jack Nicholson, and when I went to go and see The Dark Knight, I was kind of sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like this." But then he drew me in,
Right.
Good. Good for you.
and then I
He
thought
was
to myself, "Right, okay, now I know how that feels." So then when I watched, you know, the new It,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I got drew in more with Bills than I did with Tim's. So I was kind of like, "Oh, okay, now I've had that sensation again."
And see, for me, it's not offense or an ambivalence. It really
They're just
they're
two different
two
characters.
completely
Yeah,
different
different
characters.
characters.
With Tim Curry, you believe that he's a 600-year-old, you know,
Yeah,
sort of vaudevillian. I mean,
Demon,
yeah. I mean, it's old world, and I think there's the capacity for him to be truly enticing to children. Like in the beginning, where the little girl's on the trike,
yeah.
and she pulls up, and there's this smiling clown with the balloons. Hi, you know,
Yeah.
and then the sheet moves, and there's this face,
Yeah.
this scowl.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the
No.
new film. We didn't get that at all because you have this clown who is drooling.
Who can just jump?
Yeah.
But what I appreciated, I think from I don't mean to hijack the thing, but maybe
Yeah.
I am anyway.
No worries.
The rails have come off. So there's this innocence that you get
Yeah.
from Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise. It reminds me a lot of when Johnny Depp did Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Not to say everybody's going to have to do Michael Jackson every time you're going to redo it,
I
but
get
there's
that,
that
yeah.
innocence, that sort of
Yeah.
childishness that is in there, regardless of how old you are. There is a childishness.
But that's why I like Gene Wilder's interpretation.
I like
of
Gene
Willy Wonka,
Wilder's,
because
Certainly.
it was more cutthroat to me than the, like you said, it was just like Michael Jackson and the innocence. I didn't like that
No.
because in the book as well, there is still that kind of element that
Menace.
You know, there was a menace about it, which that's what I liked.
Sure. But I think with the drooling and the it's hard. It's harder to be drawn into
Yeah.
that character. Not to say
But I
It's not
think that's
possible.
why there was no real luring in
you're,
this new one.
you know,
Yeah,
you're right.
it's-
You don't see much
there
of
was
that.
no luring. It was just
Attack.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
he's
Yeah.
just
And Georgie
terrifying.
in the beginning is I would say
The only
leaps and
lure.
bounds more suspicious
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the new film.
That was one of the
than,
things we-
He
than
does.
ours.
He kind of, you know, he doesn't really want to get sucked in, does he? Like you said, there's times when you look at his face when they pan the camera to him, and he's kind of thinking, I shouldn't really be doing it.
Yeah, but there's still with Skarsgård's interpretation and the way they have him played, like he's terrifying all the way through.
Yeah.
Whereas the way I see it is when Tim Curry at first is trying to entice Georgie into the drain. He's just kind of a goofy clown, and he's in a drain. You're like, okay, well, that's weird, but it's not necessarily terrifying. He's like, hey, Georgie, do you want a balloon? I have your boat, kind of thing. You're like, all right. And so you can see Georgie really kind of thinking about it and kind of considering, like, well, it's weird, but he doesn't really seem that menacing. Even that's this whole kind of juxtaposition. Whereas with Skarsgård, he's like, I've got your boat, and you're like, there's no child in the world.
There is a little.
Keep it, bro.
I'm
good. I don't
There
need
is
it.
a little exposition though,
Very good
because he
animal.
talks about the circus. You know,
Yeah.
he's like, they blew us away. That's why we're in the drain. I mean, there's a little explanation there.
Yeah.
We didn't have the benefit of
He's
it
just
ours.
filling the popcorn.
He's just like, we all float. Well,
Don't
who
you
floats?
smell the
Yeah.
popcorn?
Who are we?
Yeah.
All the other kids or people in the circus? I mean,
Yeah.
you had to think of commercials.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do,
You had to
yeah.
make time for commercials.
Well, the
You
drool
had
was scaring me.
to make
man.
time for the flashbacks.
That's all I can think about now is the drooling.
The drooling.
I think about that, I'm just like, yeah, that's quite crazy. I really wouldn't take the boat back at all.
Yeah.
And then see, the biggest thing was, I mean, I'm seeing him in the drain, and it's raining, and there's water everywhere. But I'm like, that's not rain on his face. He's drooling.
Yeah, no,
I said, that's just like, I said,
salivating
he's
at a
just
tribe.
salivating like he about
Wow.
to eat you, bro.
Yeah, that's right.
Go, run now.
just go home. Just literally go home.
Yes.
I think
And also, you
time.
bumped your head. I mean, there was that whole kind of thing that was on the internet about once Georgie bumped his head, that was all a dream sequence. There was a whole kind of how to put it, conspiracy, which I think's it's doable,
Possible.
but you know, how a kid of that age that's all he wants to do is play with paper boats has a massive dream about murderous clowns.
Yeah.
You kind of think, well, what have you been watching?
Yeah.
You know? Right, I've got one more question, guys. Some of you read Stephen King books and stuff. What kind of, or what character would you love to play? If you was offered now on the table that contract to play any character in a Stephen King novel, which one would it be? Don't have to go into a massive explanation about it, just which one.
I don't think I have enough experience with Stephen King stuff to answer that
You know
appropriately.
what? I missed the boat because I connect with the leper
Yeah.
from the first thing. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I look like trash. And
Don't
I
we
think
all?
that would have been my calling, but I think I may have missed the boat on
I
that
think
one.
it's kind of the fifth Red Bull I kind of perk up a bit.
That sounds like
Oh,
the
Monster,
monster
yeah.
man down there.
I was quite happy to see my blue can of Monster
Really?
sitting at the Sainsbury's. Yeah,
Nice.
I was pleased.
I think I would pick Zelda, actually.
Yeah?
From Pet Sematary.
Sematary.
Only because, well, yeah, that character just absolutely scared the crap out of me as
Yeah.
a kid. Like, I mean, that definitely gave me nightmares. But thinking back on an acting role and what that would be like, I think that would be a lot of fun to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go with that.
that was a really interesting casting choice too.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd go with I'm a huge fan of Pet Sematary. I think the entire concept is absolutely ingenious, and
Yeah.
I actually got to work with a gentleman by the name of Brad who played the Angel.
Yeah.
Brilliant actor, very strange-looking gentleman. But I'd love to play that character because
Yeah.
he shows up at the door. He's got half of his head missing, essentially, right? Really, so I'd love to play that
Oh,
character.
that would be
Brilliant.
Yeah, he was great.
I don't know, man. It's a very good question. I think I'm in the same boat with Adam. I don't
Yeah.
have
A vast knowledge.
no, but I mean,
I'm the same. I'm still reading and
Well,
getting involved.
you know, I've seen more of his movies than I've read of his
Yeah.
books. And there's some movies that I've seen that I didn't even realize he had done just because they weren't horror films. So, yeah, for me, I mean, I really don't know.
Favorite horror icon. What is your favorite horror icon? It's a tough one, and we've had some real good answers, and we've had a few that've just gone, Freddy. But,
The one that stands out to me right now is, and I can't think of the actor's name, Kane something.
King
Kane
Hodder.
Hodder.
Yes,
Yeah.
from Poltergeist.
yeah.
Oh.
No,
the
you're not-
Poltergeist 2.
Yeah, that's not. They were talking about
Something
Kane
Kane.
Hodder.
Not Kane Hodder. No,
No.
something Kane. Can't think of the actor's name, but
Oh,
he scared.
the old man that shows up at
Yes.
the door.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
He
Are
was
you
dying of
lost,
cancer at the
sweetheart?
time. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Are
that-
you
that
scared,
guy.
honey?
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy.
Oh,
Yes.
Have you seen Poltergeist?
He'll always freak me
Oh my
out.
gosh. No, the
wish
Poltergeist
I could
movies are
remember
the
his
ones that
name,
got me,
but-
man.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
For sure.
Ben, that's
Favorite
the-
horror
Yeah,
icon would be out
yes.
of that?
No, an icon though.
Consider that horror. It's like sci-fi.
Oh, Oh, I think it's a horrific film. The effects, but also the Werewolf from the American
Werewolf in
London.
Yeah.
Genius Rick Baker. My favorite. Who would I like to play?
Oh no, who's your favourite horror icon?
I'd have to say Boris Karloff is Frankenstein. I think he's
Oh,
Wow.
love him.
Yeah.
you guys are pulling it out of the hat.
We'll go Universal. I'll one up that, and
Yeah.
we'll go with Lon Chaney.
Oh.
I'll tell you why.
Oh,
Good one.
go.
I'll tell you why.
Good one.
The makeup for Phantom
Yeah.
of the Opera,
Mm.
right? It wasn't prosthetic.
Mm-mm.
But if you know anything about it, it
No.
is just straight up makeup.
Really?
You'd think there was a whole mask, and all of it was makeup. It
He used
was
wires
it was
to
an applique. I
bring
mean,
his
it
nose
was
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's amazing.
he was a master craftsman. Lon
Good one.
Chaney. I didn't even think to go that far
Oh,
back, and then
good.
you busted out Boris Karloff.
That's awesome.
But Lon Chaney, I mean, he's started.
Yeah.
Played the Hunchback in Notre Dame. as
Yeah,
well.
he
In the summer
started
film.
the grotesque in
Nice.
film.
Very good one,
I
though.
think.
I
I
don't-
guess,
You
I
won
guess
that.
on the last one, huh? I have to go for.
We're 4 for 4, yeah?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I guess I have to kind of go for 2 almost. Like, I'm not usually a huge horror movie watcher, but one of the most terrifying things, and I know it's everyone probably in the extreme horror convention thinks it's a little bit kind of weak, but the Girl from the Ring, like the
Oh,
American
yeah.
remake, not the original
Right.
Japanese one.
Okay.
I know it kind of got made
Oh.
fun of in like so many scary movie things that everyone thinks it's kind of stupid, but like when I first watched it,
Yeah,
like
she's
the
super
whole
creepy.
reverse thing, like coming up out of the well with her hair already on it and it kind of like sliding onto her face, kind of that movie
Yeah.
was terrifying to me.
That was freaky.
And then just as like a general kind of reference throughout all of horror, I think my favorite one, it kind of got overdone by True Detective, but the actual concept of The King in Yellow, like the idea that you read this play and it drives you completely insane, and like the whole concept, like the whole way that book is written, and like all the other artists who contributed to that kind of canon,
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. I love that.
That's awesome.
Good one.
Fine, that's great. I mean, thank you very much, guys, for coming up and joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On
Thank
the
you, Doris.
Coruscant YouTube channel. Remember to like and subscribe, guys. Apart from that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Pleasure's ours.
Nice one.